Cool.
Okay, cool. Why don't you start? Just introduce yourself.
I am Shawnette Delano. We have been writing for seems
Ever?
like 20 years as sisters.
Like literally 20 years, that's not a exaggeration.
Yeah, and then we also write on our own. And so I think the first story I wrote was I was 14. I think the first novel I wrote. I'm sure it was horrible, but that was
No way,
it.
no.
I
It
was
was
I was
wonderful.
drawn to writing from a young age. All right, your
What
turn.
got you into it? What do you like about it?
I always had an imagination. I think I was living in my head a lot. And so I loved the idea of time travel. That was my first story.
What'd you like
And I
about it?
was
Because
reading a lot
I
of
remember your first story. What did you like about time travel?
I liked the idea because I was reading a lot of Georgia Heyer at the time, and so I my mind was inundated with 18th
Oh, yeah.
century romance
Regency.
and
Mm-hmm.
Regency, yeah. And so the idea of living there with the knowledge that I have now, it seemed really charming. And so that was
Yeah.
what the story
Yeah.
was a girl from a horrible childhood who found herself.
Escaped in
She
Regency,
escaped.
England. Yeah.
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 And all of the beauty that is showcased in those books. I don't know how
Yeah.
true it was in real life,
The
but
politeness, the
of
manners, the
politeness. Yeah,
clothing,
exactly.
the culture. Yeah, really
Yeah.
appealing to a
I
modern
think
audience.
it healed my character.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
yeah.
You know, I would never have gotten into time travel if not for you, because I never liked time travel. Because it always seemed to me that they were bumbling idiots and no one would like them. Like they'd go there and they wouldn't have a history, they wouldn't know how to anything worked, they wouldn't have knowledge of the customs, they'd bumble and stumble and be clumsy and embarrassing. And so like the idea that a romance could happen in that situation always seemed unlikely to me. And whenever I'd read time travel, that's what the characters seem to be to me is foolish. And so it
Yeah.
embarrassed me, and I get secondhand embarrassment, and I'd be like, "There's no way that that would be attractive to somebody else, someone who was just a clueless
Yeah.
idiot." Which is why I like. I never would have gone into it, but I like the idea of our time travel books, where the protagonist is on top of things and knows more than the others, and is prepared for where she
Yeah.
ends up or he ends up. And so it flipped it on its head, where instead of being the bumbling, stupid idiot that doesn't know anything, they're ahead of the game and they know more than the surrounding characters. And so I never would have gotten into it, but I'm glad I did because it's a charming narrative. It's a charming situation to find yourself in, you know?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And I understand, I think I understand what authors are going for, trying to make it charming, trying to show the showcase the difference between today's society and that society and how confusing it would be to find yourself in the past.
Hmm.
But I think that like there's some books that just show way too much. It's stuff that doesn't have anything to do with the story. Stuff like
Right. Yeah.
how would you go to the bathroom? It's like I really don't care as an author. I mean, as a
Oh, I
reader, like I don't want to
know.
know all of that. I understand that there's a lot of things that are not romantic about that time frame,
Yeah.
but there's a lot of wonderful things, and that's what I want
Hmm.
to be included in the books.
Hmm.
So I understand kind of what they're going for.
Hmm.
Hold on just a second. Get downstairs. Go. Go on.
Both of our dogs are
Go.
misbehaving.
Go on. Problem is I have three.
Well,
You
that's
do
my
too.
problem too.
You never introduced yourself.
Okay, I'm Caroline Gregory. I don't think I've been writing as long as you. I think the first thing I remember well, I'd write poetry. I wrote silly little poems, probably since I was 10. And then the first real novel I tried to write, I was probably in college. Or no, it was probably after college. I was graduated from college. So I was probably in my mid 20s before I started trying to write a book. Oh, and it was the fairy tales. Yeah, I started with fairy tales, like retelling fairy tales, which is a good place to start.
Why? What got you into it?
I love fairy tales, and I didn't know I loved them, but just the older I get, the more I realize that I'm connected to fairy tales. I think they're kind of a form of scripture because they go deep, deep, deep into psychological and I think spiritual truths of the human experience, especially the female experience, which gets overlooked a lot because naturally just the female genre. Now, I don't want to overstate this, but the female genre, the feminine genre is waning and there's not a lot of money in it ever. You know, the romantic comedies never, not like they blew up they didn't weren't huge blockbusters. So there's just naturally a little less money in it. And then with the feminist movement, feminists are embarrassed about feminine properties. And so I have a great hunger for the fairy tales. So I think probably it was just this void that I was trying to fill. Also, it's a good place to start. They're not copyrighted, and there's a story there, so you have the outline, and they're really fascinating. And there's so many intricate details, strange details that you can go places with. It's a rabbit hole. I mean, you just fall into it. It's a great place to start. A lot of imagination. I do have a problem. I'd say my one of my weaknesses is I don't have much of an imagination for plot. Plot kind of is tricky for me. I I feel really comfortable with conversation, with the details. Like you and I've talked about this, like you're the forest, I'm the trees, you know. So if you're just handed a plot, then that's a great start
You
for
could
me.
just focus on the trees. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I th- I think that, I mean, that's always been one of your strengths. You say you could delve deep into storylines. I think Jordan Peterson does that really well when he delves into the fairy tales
Oh
and he
yeah.
brings up things
Hmm.
that I mean,
Yeah.
his fascination with Pinocchio, which was frankly one of my least favorite
Oh yeah.
stories.
Well, I think it's a male story. You know, I think the fairy tales divide themselves into male and female stories. Not all the time, but
That makes sense.
it's a male story. The male journey, the what would you call it? The hero's journey is
The hero's
different than the
journey, yeah.
feminine journey, the heroine's journey. And I don't think that the heroine's journey has been mapped out quite like the hero's journey has, just
Yeah,
because the
I was
hero's
gonna
journey
say that.
is so prevalent, and it needs to be. The f- the f- the heroine's journey is more private and more
Yeah.
intimate and less accessible. I think the hero's journey is more accessible to women than the heroine's journey is to men, you know, which is fine. I think it makes it more special.
Yeah. I think that's probably where literature is lacking today, where romance is lacking
Right.
today, storytelling is lacking today, is
Yeah.
when you kill the value of femininity and everything, the heroine's journey.
Yeah.
And if that doesn't have value, then you're trying to substitute the hero's journey for the
Yeah.
feminine, and it doesn't work.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's what they're trying to do with movies now is just unplug a man, unplug in a woman, and as far as I'm concerned, it's not appealing to either one, either sex, you know. Okay, so I'm going to start with my question for you. Okay.
Okay.
How did you know the phrase "I had a dream once that I flew" was important? Why'd you want to write it down? Do you want to just describe that experience?
Yeah. I think anyone who writes feels the difference between a phrase that you know that there's weight behind it and one that is just a daily phrase that you say and it's done. And so I was, I think, 16. I was alone at my cousin's house in the middle of the summertime, and I had that phrase. I had a dream once that I flew, and I felt that there were paragraphs behind it,
Hmm.
and I
It's an
knew
interesting way to put it.
I couldn't, I couldn't start delving into those paragraphs, or else I would lose the beginning. And
Oh,
so I was
yeah.
rushing around the house. I had just that one. I didn't let myself go to that next
But you
sentence.
felt it coming. You felt the
Yeah, I
push.
felt it coming.
Yeah, so you
Yeah, and
had
so
to.
I was running around trying to find. Couldn't find a lick of paper. I couldn't find a pen,
How long did it
and
take?
and so I finally went down to the computer and
Mm.
I turned it on and started typing. I had a dream once that I flew. I didn't fly anywhere of note or for any duration, but the fact is that I did fly, and so
Yeah.
that it ended up being 3 or 4 pages
Yeah.
that just flew out of me,
Yeah.
and I knew it was significant. And
Yeah.
then
That makes
I tried
sense.
to print it, and it didn't have it didn't have any ink, and so it printed in red because usually that's the last available. And so I just carried around those 3 or 4 pages for years until I brought it up to you
Oh, funny.
in our 20s.
I love that. I love that. Well, even the order of those words, like if it was in a different order, it would lose some of the significance. So like that order mattered. Like getting that phrase just so down.
I had a dream once that I flew.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
flew once in a dream.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's meh.
That's interesting.
Do you
Um,
feel the same way when you have story come to you? I know it's not always so easy. I know that words don't always come, but when words
mhm.
come, do you feel the same thing?
On rare occasions, I'll be laying in bed and I'll think, if I don't write this down, it's just more ideas, and it's probably more plot. I mean, that's where I struggle is plot. If I don't write it down, I'll forget. In the morning, I'll think, I'll never forget this, and I wake up and I'm like, what
Oh
was
yeah.
that? What was I thinking? So I'll
Yeah,
I'll get
I
up
learned
and
a long
write.
time ago to have something next to my bed, a pen
Yeah.
and paper.
But no, for the most part, I find, and this is just an unfortunate thing. I think it'd be much easier if it was another way, but I find that just pounding it out with with a computer open in front of me, in excruciating pain the whole time, is where I get some of my best work.
Unfortunately, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. And I think this is going to be terrible. It's going to sound terrible. And then I'll read it later and I'm like, wow, that sounds good. That sounds fine, you know. Once in a while, I can point to maybe two times that I was writing in that sweat and blood, and a phrase comes to me, and I think that did not come from me. That's coming from somewhere else, and I don't know if it's going to work. And I'll put it in there, and it won't really work, but it works really well because it doesn't work. I don't know if that makes sense,
yeah.
but my
Well,
my like I said, I have problems with plot, and so a lot of my writing is plotting. It's like, oh, well, then this happens, and then this happens, and of course this happens. So it's like you can kind of see the whole path in front of you just because there's not twists and turns, and some of those situations provides a twist and turn that real life provides. It's more realistic. It's not
yeah,
so just laid out in front of you. So when we get to one of those places, I'll point it out, but it's very rare, you know. Like most of the
yeah,
time it's blood, sweat, and tears, and that's where where
yeah.
my best writing comes
See,
from.
I think that's why writing with you it works so well because your attention to detail is magnificent. And I remember the first full novel that I wrote. It wasn't even the time travel one. It wasn't the I had a dream once that I flew one. It was I remember finishing it. I'm like, I'm done. And so I, I gave it to you. You read it, and you're like, okay. So now you need to like triple it in size because it was like a
It was
hundred
a it
pages.
was a novelette or whatever.
Yeah, it's like okay. Why don't you start fleshing it out? And I was so confused. I'm like, here's the story. I mean,
Yeah,
everything is there,
it was a full
but
story. It
it
was
was a full story.
a
Yeah,
plot. Yeah, had a beginning, middle, and end, and it just didn't have conversation or details or
yeah,
character
yeah.
development, or yeah, which is why I really enjoy writing with you because I suck at all that stuff.
Well, I I really appreciate the when I read after you've taken a scene and you've filled it out, you've added the details and the flowers and the words, and to
The
hear that
glitter.
yeah, the glitter, you'll strive, you'll go through the thesauruses to find the perfect word, and you'll do that stuff that as a reader the reader won't even realize that that one word took you two
Yeah,
hours to
a
find.
lot of sweat, a lot of
Yeah,
pain, a lot of
but then
suffering.
but the difference that it makes in the feel of the story, like reading through the dream or reading when we revisited them and we were reading through them, they were so fulfilling. And I know that they wouldn't have been without those special words and without the that glitter and that attention to that analyzing of characters and of how why is this person feeling this way and how would they
Hmm.
feel and to delve into more of the heart. I think that that's
Yeah.
what is added.
Well, I know that without your like the things I've written on my own is like I would compare it to petals on the ground, you know? And then when we write together, it's flowers with a stalk and structure. There's petals around the flower. You know what I mean? Like there's more structure
Yeah,
to it, which makes it more pleasing. I have such a hard time with structure, you know? So
yeah.
it's my favorite way to write is when you just plow through and write a scene, and you have this dynamic in your writing and this dynamic way of writing where I feel like you're just experiencing it as you write it. Whereas
Oh,
I
absolutely.
plot it out and I know exactly where everything's going when I write. And so that's what like it just looks like a path right in front of you. And it's like, okay, I know where I'm going. This
Yeah.
is not very interesting. But you have these twists and turns where you don't even know where you're going, do you?
No, I don't. No, I'll be writing and I'm like, well then, and sometimes it can go off and sometimes it is a false flag or a false path.
Hmm.
And so we'll have to back up, but yeah, oftentimes I'll just write and I'll try to figure out how would she get out of this situation? And so I'd get myself through this path and get into a situation and then have to get out of it. And I think that helps with creating the storyline.
Yeah. Well, you even put obstacles in your way. I've noticed, and I hate obstacles. They're just like the path. Like I want a path in front of me and know where I'm going. And you're like, let's throw this huge obstacle in our way and figure out how to get around it. And I like panic. There's one thing I remember from one of our stories where I'm like, why are we introducing this in here? You know, we had a way out, now we don't have a way out. But it makes it like real life. That's real life, you know? So I write stories that are, like I said, plotting and predictable. My stories tend to be predictable. So it's nice to be thrown these obstacles that I have to get around because it makes it more realistic. It tastes more like reality, you know?
Yeah, I when I'm writing, I just find it interesting. It will be an idea that will come to mind, and I'll be like, well, yeah, let's. I wonder how she's gonna get out of this. Yeah. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh,
But
this
you're
is
not ever
interesting.
afraid. Like you're never afraid of backing yourself into a corner, you know?
I think those probably are the funnest things to get out of in the end, if it's done well. Because as a reader, like when you're watching a movie or reading a book, and as you're reading, you're like, oh my gosh, how are they going to get out of it?
Yeah.
And so to get into that situation and then just sit and think, and I think the godlike ability of being able to give your characters wisdom so that they can figure something out,
Hmm.
it's really cool.
You mean like
It makes them admirable.
setting them up to know or giving them like that wisdom in the moment, or what do you mean by that?
When they get into a, I'm trying to think of a specific situation, but when they get into a a problem, I was just trying to think of something in the dreamer stories, but I like the idea of a character in a problem and then them being able to get out of it.
Yeah.
And so it's not like I put them in that problem on purpose, but as I'm writing and they get into that problem, then it is exciting to try to find a real, not some stupid way of getting out,
Yeah.
but a
Hmm.
logical way of getting out. It's like, oh my gosh, that is so smart. And it would
Right.
take, as a writer, you'd have to research and figure something out,
Yeah.
but,
Yeah.
and then you'd have to translate it to the book to explain how they would come up with that realistically. Because it doesn't work
Right.
either to just have them know everything and like, oh,
Right.
this is exactly how to do it. But for them to like kick a rock and have that showcase something and bring
Hmm.
something to mind, and then you're
Hmm.
like, oh, then they could have this experience in the past that would
Hmm.
they could remember that
Prepared them.
can lead them to, yeah, to
Hmm.
know how to get out of a situation. So
Well, I
stuff like
think
that is
like
exciting.
writing, I think is easier for you than it is for me because all I'm doing is like the path of least resistance and worrying that I won't be able to make it out, you know? So when you're putting obstacles in your own way, you have this confidence like, yeah, I can write myself out of this. And I'm just the whole time worrying and panicking, thinking, I don't know if I can write myself out of this. I might have to just scrap this whole thing and I might just be writing this all in vain and then I'll have to just throw it all away and it's hurt so much to write
Well,
it, you know?
don't you think that that's the difference between the two deers that look at a field?
Hmm.
I don't see all of the problems that you see,
Mm,
and
hmm.
that's to my detriment. Like I'm very simple minded when it comes to stories, and so I'm simple minded when it comes to what problems the characters would face,
Hmm.
or all the deer that looks to the field and waits to go out into the open field because they see the rustles, the ruffling bushes, and they see that there's maybe an animal standing there. And
Yeah,
you see so much,
to my
and
detriment.
I'm like,
Like I just wouldn't even move, you know?
but I think when you do move, you are safer, and where I'm more likely to be the deer that gets shot because I'm like, whatever.
No, never, never.
There's some grass, yeah.
No way.
So I mean,
Conquer all obstacles. All right, do you have a question for me?
I do. I was gonna say, what is wrong with literature today?
Hey, okay, I'm going to preface this by saying I'm not an expert. We've talked about this before. I'm not a reader, I'm a writer. The and the reason I say that is because my tastes are so narrow, and I realize that. I know that what I like, a lot of people don't like, and what I don't like, a lot of people like, and I'm okay with that. But it makes my perception very myopic. So I'm going to just preface it with that. There are people that know literature and appreciate literature a lot more than I do. That being said, I read stuff from the 19th century, literature from them then, and it just seems like there's a lot more thoughtfulness that goes into like their talk, their dialogue, their personalities are complex, their interactions are sophisticated. And what I mean by sophisticated is just three-dimensional. There's more than one aspect to these people. You're not painting with such a broad brush. There's a lot of nuance, you know. So probably that's my, yeah, to narrow it down, I'd say it's a lack of nuance. That's probably my biggest problem.
Yeah,
Is that we're,
maybe a lack of trust for the reader.
yeah, 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 way too much exposition in movies too. Like I can figure this out. You don't need to tell me every little thing, you know. And it's a little insulting that you feel like you have to, you know.
And I think that I think readers and audience members, I think we have lost the appreciation for figuring things out. I think oftentimes because we're fed so easily, everything comes
Yeah,
so easy.
information is at our fingertip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
so it's like, well, why is this happening? I don't know. But then when a movie comes out that does just throw you into the storyline like Mad Max,
Yeah.
you have no idea what's going on. You don't know
And
what
you
they
don't
don't really
need to.
explain it.
You don't need
You
to.
don't need to. And
Right.
the puzzle solving, the figuring out adds so much enjoyment to watching that story.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that as consumers, we don't even realize we don't have because so
Right.
often what we're given is just A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and we
Right.
just are like eating
Yeah.
it and we're like, oh
Consumer
yeah,
is
of
the
course,
right
this is so
word.
nice.
Yeah. We consume it and it's like we're an audience, you know, like we need to participate in this interaction here. It's like
Yeah, yeah. So to not be
expect a little
given
bit
all the
from me.
answers,
Right. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm
yeah, that
sorry
was
if
a tough
I,
one.
yeah, I'm sorry I sounded like such a snob. I realized that my personality and my interests are very, very narrow. Okay, did the captain's personality change from how you first imagined him? So just remember we're in chapter 7 now, so don't reach too far into the future. But
Okay.
did he change from what you first imagined to who he ended up being? At least this far in the
You
book,
mean from when the story
when you
was first
imagined him.
envisioned?
Right,
Yeah.
right, right. What did you imagine him to be like?
I think again, this goes to your strength and not necessarily mine. I just saw him as a typical a personality kind of
Type
guy.
A?
Type A, yeah.
Uh-huh.
And then when you got a hold of him, you gave him so much heart and so much more depth. And so I don't think that I didn't realize, I didn't see how much more there was to him than even what is
Mm-hmm.
showing. His compassion and his honesty with life and with Finley, his appreciation for Finley, even though Finley is so flawed,
Mm-hmm.
his ability to do what's right just because it's right,
So you imagined him being
despite his
type A,
past.
like
Just
commanding
a
a
powerhouse. Yeah.
powerhouse. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And you gave him so much more depth and heart and made him
Vulnerable.
really an admirable, vulnerable. Yeah. An admirable, vulnerable man. Very vulnerable, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes I go too far with that, as you well know. All right. Do you have a question for
All
me?
right. I do. What does a story have to be enjoyable?
Oh, that's a good question. I am obsessed with character. Like I said, I'm not good at plot, so maybe it's just plot's not as important to me. I can sit down and read a book that's just purely about people talking, which is, I'm sure sounds horrible to most people, but I'm fascinated. I don't know, maybe I was a therapist in another life or something. I'm fascinated with why do you do that? What are you doing? And why are you doing it? And what do you think the consequences are going to be of that, you know? Um, what they anticipate their behavior, the results of their behavior, you know? Because just so much of what we do is just seems insane. So there's, you know, there's some reason for it. There's some reason that we do everything, even if it's ridiculous, you know? So yeah, character. I can forgive a lot if there are fascinating characters. What about you?
Hmm. Probably truth.
Mm.
I think a
Theme?
story, just honesty, and you could get away with a crazy story if their reactions are a truthful reaction. I think
Mm. Like a genuine
genuine. Yeah.
interaction.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think something where I watch and I'm like, yeah, that's believable.
Does
Even
that
if
have
it's
to do
something
with
that's
plot
totally
as well?
crazy.
Like that has to do with plot as well. Like that has to be a realistic way that they get out of that problem.
Yeah. 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 So I think honesty. And again, it doesn't have to be based in reality. It could be fantasy. It could be time travel. I mean, we write time travel, which is
Yeah,
completely
it's totally
ridiculous.
ridiculous. I know that's we're dealing in lies. I mean, that's essentially
Yeah.
fiction is just I don't know about lies. It's not meant to deceive,
But
but it's untruth.
yeah.
So you're getting at the
So
truth through
just
untruth.
yeah, yeah. I think a story has to be based in truth, even if it is completely nonsense. So the way that characters react, the way that the story progresses, if I look at something and see someone react, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense to me.
Because of their character. Like
Yeah,
the writer has to set it up where it makes sense.
yeah. I think so. Where if they have some oddball reaction, I have to believe that they would react that way for a certain reason.
Hmm.
Don't give me a character that I need this character to
Yeah,
react this way, so I'm going to have them react this way,
yeah,
even if that character wouldn't react that way in
yeah,
reality.
yeah.
And so So give me truth. Give me substance of why they did this thing that for the storyline you had to have them do.
Right, right.
But you it's like if you put Rachel in a situation and you put another character who is not as analytical in the same situation, they're going
Mm-hmm.
to react differently. And
Mm-hmm.
so if you need
Mm-hmm.
her to react the way that this one reacts, then you have to give me some substance of why.
How do you write that as a writer? Like how do you address that problem if you're on the other side of the page, if you're writing it?
Yeah. I think that there has to be logic to even the illogical reactions. There has to be something that leads to that.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't have to be much. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it could be a vulnerability, it could be a memory, it could be a I mean, you could even have something as insignificant as she sees something that reminds her of a girl who she went to school with who
Mm-hmm.
was so soft-hearted and it for whatever reason the dichotomy of this girl's soft-heartedness it
Mm-hmm.
affected Rachel. And so she saw this girl in this situation and this
Mm-hmm.
is how she reacted, and so she remembered being so impressed by her reacting that way, thinking I never react
Yeah.
that way. So now Rachel finds herself in this situation and it makes her react differently than she would
You know
otherwise.
what I
Something like
think?
that.
I think that you have a way of knowing what it's going to look like. And then I have a way of like reverse engineering it and saying, "Oh, this is why that worked for her. This is why it affected her as a person." You know, where it's like you can tell the story and it all makes sense to me. And I'm just feeling the back end of why they act like that. What in their personality made that reaction happen?
And then the depth that you go into in order to make that come to life is so good. And like for you to, like you say, reverse engineer it and say, oh, she has this vulnerability and she needs to grow. And so I think your like characters seeing where you want the character to go and getting them along that pathway is it adds so much to the story. I think that definitely is something that makes the story so much better.
When I was reading these, after years of being apart from them, I realized like it really showcased to me our two strengths in these stories, that the story is very solid. The plot is just dynamic and exciting and unpredictable. But there's this heart and this backstory to everything, almost too much. Like you
Yeah,
remove some of it, it's like there's too much explanation here. But it had these two elements that are often missing. One of them's usually
not
missing from
found.
a
Yeah,
story, you know.
yeah.
So
Oh, I
it's
think that's
fun,
yeah. I agree. I think it's true because you have writers that are
plot
plot based, and
driven,
then you have writers that are character
character driven.
driven.
Yeah.
And so here we've got, I
One of
think we've
each.
got the magic key.
We do, we
Yeah.
do. Okay, so this is related to my other question. How did you first picture Rachel?
I think you are the one that made her so academic. I didn't picture
Good.
her so academic. Yeah, when you took those pages, you're the one that made her so smart. And I remember the the way that you grew those pages and you made everything so analytical. And so that's not how I first pictured her,
How did you picture her?
but it worked so well
Well, what
with
she
her in the
had to
story
do to
now.
get there would have taken
Yeah.
somebody with all
See, and
brain
that's
and no
what you
heart.
do. That's what you do is you say, why would this person do this? All right, this is their personality. And I think that's what you did.
Well, that's what I
So,
mean, like the image that you bring up, like the way the characters react to each other and react to the plot makes sense to me. And I'm like, let's just explain why that happened, you know? So I'm like,
yeah.
oh, that's totally how they'd react.
Yeah.
And it's a part of the dynamic writing style that you have where it's a surprise to me too. And I think what surprises me, I can backfill. I can, oh, well, this is why this
Yeah.
amazing, unpredictable thing happened. Well, it actually makes sense because of these things that,
Yeah.
these setups
Yeah.
that of their personality and how they react to things and the world that
Yeah.
they're in and everything.
Yeah. Yeah. So that how I pictured her first was just excited excited to try something new, excited to not really. I think I if I had to distill it down, she was more factually based and emotionally based, but I didn't see her that
Yeah,
way.
exactly. That's
But
what I mean. Like, I think you did see her that way because that's how you wrote her, you know?
yeah, 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 yeah. And so she didn't care that she
She
was
wasn't
surrounded
afraid at
by,
all. She was like
yeah,
not
yeah,
afraid at all. Yeah,
yeah.
which I thought was so
So,
funny.
yeah. All right. What inspires you?
Oh, literature, other literature. I get ideas when I'm reading, especially if I disagree with what the characters are doing. That's one of the most fertile places that I go is like when I'm reading something, I'm like, they wouldn't do that. This is what they do. And then and a whole story can come from that. And usually the story lacking in plot devices, but like it's just characters talking, like, well, if you're in this situation and you're this kind of person, of course you're gonna act this way, not that way. So I have to say, like, I'm not very, like I said, I'm not very imaginative. So it's mostly through literature. And like Georgia Hire, you mentioned her characters were always so distinctive and unique and fun. And so I do wonder about my writing because we end up with these characters that are very different from each other and not really like anyone we know.
Yeah,
And I think where did these characters come from? Where were we inspired to create these? And I think it's from reading, because I'm not super social. It's not like I go out and just talk to people and find out their personalities, but I've met a lot of people in books, and a
yeah,
lot of them are annoying, and a lot of them are just awesome, and there's just
yeah,
a fertile ground there to draw from.
yeah. Those little red-edged old romances,
Hmm.
those quick read romances. We spent
Yeah,
years collecting those. We spent years collecting hundreds of those.
Harlequin,
Uh,
Clean, they have,
Pre 1980.
yeah, excellent
Yeah,
characters. I mean, just enough plot to make me happy.
yeah.
Excellent dialogue. The characters are so distinctive. Really
Sorry about
good.
that.
Yeah, and we got a lot of inspiration from that.
Yeah.
All right, what's the easiest thing for you to write?
Hmm. It's
Maybe
the
I'll say
easiest thing
this.
for me to
Which
write.
maybe without spoiling anything, like just a scene that was just easy for you to write, or a character that was easier for you to write.
Give me a minute.
You see, all my questions are about characters.
Yeah. And all mine are about story.
That's true.
That is funny. Well, I'm thinking about book two because book two was
Yeah, yeah.
really, for the lack of a better way of saying it, it was easy to write.
So,
And every time I sat down, I think if I have a direction of where I'm going, I just need to have the direction. And because we had such a great storyline for there, I we knew the story was awesome, and so we just needed to get okay. Now we need to get to the next step of that story, and
mm,
that made it really an enjoyable write because I knew where I was going. I just needed to get there.
it's another story where I'm like, why are you putting this in there? Why? It's another obstacle. Why? The story's laid out. It's so easy. But it's that makes it better, makes it more believable and interesting.
Yeah, yeah. Well, what about
Hmm.
you?
The third, the third one. There's a character, the protagonist in the third one is, I could put any dialogue at all in her mouth. It worked. Just, and what's funny is I think it's probably people's least favorite. And there's this line that Jane Austen said about Emma. She wrote Emma. and she was telling somebody about it, and she's like, I wrote this character that no one's gonna like but me. And I feel a little bit that way about poor Heather. But
I adore her. Yeah.
yeah, she was definitely the easiest the easiest character.
And so what made her easy?
She really didn't, I hate to say it this way. I mean, this maybe is a vulnerability. She didn't really have any vulnerabilities. And so there was no limitation to her. Um,
Yeah. There was
but
no
that's
realistic limitation.
right, right. So she could afford to be forgiving, and she could afford to be bold and funny, and she could afford to take risks, 'cause which is probably why she seems to be people's like least favorite, you know. But she was just so much fun to write. Is it
Is it
your
your
turn
turn
or
or my
my
turn?
turn? I don't know. You just go. The first time I remember writing something was these missionaries were going to leave. They were going to get transferred out, and they'd been over at our house quite a bit. So I felt kind of close to them. And so I just started writing this poem. You know, I was spelling out missionaries, and M is for this, and I is for this. I really don't know what got me doing that, but it got such a good reaction. Like people just really were seemed to be charmed by it, and they complimented me a lot on it. Enough to where I felt encouraged to try again, you know. And I say this before, like you don't know you're good at something until, and I know people all say all the time, I don't care what people think. I don't care what people think. Well, you really do. Because you don't know you're good at something until you get
Yeah.
people's reactions to it. So I wouldn't say I
Do
was,
you
go ahead,
we had the same English teacher. I don't remember her
in
name.
high school.
In high school. Slender,
Blonde?
very nice, short hair, but
I don't remember.
I after writing something in her class, she actually came to me and she said, "You're a good writer." And I said, "I can't spell for anything." And she's like, "That doesn't matter.
Oh,
Don't let that stop you. You're a good writer." Yeah.
yeah. I can't spell either. Yeah, it's genetic, Sean. My kids can't spell. It's like being good at math. Like you're either good at it or you're not, and it's fine.
That's funny. So it was just
It was just people's reactions to my writing
something that you could give to someone, and then their reaction to it
was very positive.
inspired you to do more. Yeah.
Right, yeah. And then I would write like essays in high school or in grammar school. And a lot of times, like more times than not, the teacher would read a few of them, and mine was usually one of them. And
Yeah.
that's really what got me interested in it, is just people's reaction to my writing more than any internal barometer. I don't think I would have thought I was a good writer if it hadn't been for encouragement, you know, from outside. Because I
Yeah.
remember the first time I really thought, I'm going to try this. You know, it was after college, and I studied English. I had no intention of becoming a creative writer at all. I was what would you call that? I was doing what I was good at. And I didn't want to teach, and I didn't want to write, and I was just, you know, a dumb young adult and didn't have many plans. But then after I was done with college, I'm like, I'm going to try this. And I gave it out to our family, and for all their faults, you know, that they were very, very positive about it. But I know I thought to myself, this could be a disaster. This could be not a disaster. Either way, like I would have just, if they had told me it was terrible, I would never have written again.
You would have believed him. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
That's interesting. So you started out with the fairy tales,
I
and then
started out
what
with
was the first
poetry.
novel? The poetry,
Yeah,
and
I
then the
started, and then
first
fairy tale.
stories you wrote were
And
fairy
for
tales.
fairy tales, yeah. I think I started with Rapunzel.
The fairy tales. What was your first non-fairy tale story?
Might have been these. It might have been when I was
Wow.
working with you.
And then after these is when you started doing
Yeah.
your other stories. Oh,
Yeah,
that's
and it
really
would just
cool.
be like most of those came from when I was reading a book, and I'm like, that's not the way this should have gone, you know? And so I have my own characters, and I have my, but, and it's not even like I copy the plot, it's just the situation. one that comes to mind is this married guy is I would call it, he was supposed to be the hero of this book. He was just totally leading this girl on. He was married, but he was totally in love with her, and his wife was horrible, and I got so angry at him. And I'm like, you're not the hero. You're not. Like,
Yeah.
what you're
Yeah.
doing is reprehensible because she's totally in
Yeah.
love with you. She's not going to get married. She's not going to have a family of her own. She can't. Like, and you're encouraging her. And then the ending, his wife happens to die, and then he happens to go find her, and a year later or
Yeah.
whatever, and they're all happily ever after. And I hated him. Like, I
Yeah.
despised him. So
Yeah.
that's when I wrote that. What's it called? That Forsaken. What is it? What's the title of that?
Forsaking all others.
Forsaking All Others, yeah. Where the married guy is not the
Yeah.
hero.
Yeah.
But that's where that came from.
Yeah.
But again,
So
like,
it was
go ahead.
an attempt to correct a story. It was an attempt
Hmm.
to fix something that really emotionally
Bothered.
got to you.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But again, like, I read those stories and I'm like, they're okay, but they're like puddles on the ground. Like, the, it's totally obvious. I mean, it just seems to me like it's obvious where things are going. The plot's laid out. It's very plotting, like, and then this happens, and then this. Because I hate throwing obstacles in my own way. I hate it. I can't do it.
I I think it's so fun. I love it. It's just my life. It's like riding a bike, you know. Why not?
Yeah, you taught
Let's put
yourself.
a hill.
Yeah, you taught yourself to ride a bike. What is the hardest part of the writing process for you?
Characters, for sure. Yeah. I think because oftentimes we would have conversations where you would ask, "So why did she do this?" I'm like, "I don't know." I mean, because she did. Like,
I remember.
it makes sense.
She was just walking on this road, and this guy in this, carriage rides up, and he's dressed in Regency clothes, and she's like, "Oh, hi, how you doing?" I'm like, "What does she think about this? Like, is she surprised? Like, does she think he's crazy? You gotta, like, what does she
Yeah.
think? So, and you were like, "Yeah, that's right." So I
Yeah.
like that you put yourself in these. I love writing out of these puzzles, these pickles. Like, why would she do that? You know? And
Yeah.
and
Well,
I like the way she's reacting. I think it's funny. But like, why? Why is she doing that? And so let's backfill this a little bit.
yeah, I remember I mean oftentimes you saying why and you pointing something out to me, something that just like the deer in the field, you're like, "Look. What is that? Why is it there?" And I'm like, "I didn't even see that." That's true. That's right
But
there.
see, I would
That's a good
stand in the end of the
question.
field and never go out. And you're like, "Come out, come out. It's good. It's fine here. There's no predators." So,
So
yeah, it's
funny.
good. It's a good
It works.
dynamic. It works. Yeah.
It is.
Our differences make us stronger.
Whole.
Exactly. All right. Well, this is
So I
fun.
think,
Go
yeah,
ahead.
this was fun. Do we want to talk a little bit about where the story's going for the dreamer, or do we want to just?
No, I don't want to give too much away. I do. We could talk about the, previous seven chapters, or we're at seven and a half,
Okay.
so don't use the entire seventh chapter. But do you have
Oh yeah,
anything about
this
the,
is. She just met aristocracy, but we don't know anything about what she. Right. That's where it ended. Is
right, he
she
walked in the
saw the
door.
most beautiful man
Right,
in her
right.
life? Yeah. Okay.
Yes, she's hilarious. I love Rachel. She's so dumb. That she is so
And
fun
so
to read
smart.
and so smart. I think like
Yeah,
her,
I love how everything is. She's like a child. She's like, so why did you do this? And it's just stuff that any normal person would understand. And she's like, I don't understand.
but she's confident enough to, ask. Like, all she
And
does.
she's kind.
Go ahead.
I think she's also kind in believing. It's not like she's has malintent.
Hmm.
She's like a child.
Yeah, yeah, trusting. Yeah. Well, I think there's
Yeah.
more to it. I think she sees something. Her reaction to the captain is different than her reaction to everyone else. And it's because, she is, she sees in him something that she admires and loves. She just doesn't know it. So
Yeah.
it's just her moving towards this emotion that she has no preparation for, that she doesn't understand, that she's never experienced. So, but she's hilarious. She was
Yeah.
really fun. It's hard to leave her behind. I'm like, let's make
Yeah.
let's make all our characters Rachel because she is hilarious.
Well, one thing, because she was so smart, so well read, you could just have her know anything.
Yeah, that was
That was
really
that was something
nice.
that was really useful.
It was very
Like
useful,
her
almost too
knowledge. It's
useful.
like,
We totally relied on that. Yeah, yeah, that was
yeah,
really
I
nice about
know.
her.
Yeah. Yeah, I can remember one specific time where I'm like, there's no way anyone in the world would know this. But she does.
She does, yeah, and it's believable because she's lacking so terrifically in other places.
Everything
Yeah,
else.
like her entire brain is just filled with stupid knowledge, stupid facts, and she can't even have
Yeah.
a conversation with the person next to her. So,
Yeah.
so I don't know. Without spoiling anything, like what does the captain see in her that draws him to her? Because she's such a bonehead.
Well, I was going to ask you what makes them a good pair, and hmm, I think for one thing, she allows him to be close. She's not offended by his harsh ways. Like she sees him. I'm not saying that she doesn't see him. She really does see him, and she wants to see him, and she wants to get to know him better. But she's not offended by him, and I think
Hmm.
that that probably was really a healing thing for him.
Yeah, yeah. Hmm. I agree.
And
See, like
I
her
think
her
also,
deficiency helped with that
yeah,
relationship.
I think also she allows him to help her. It's not a case of dependency. It's a case of like she's very, but kind of like this is it hasn't come up yet. Oh yeah, it did. When they're sitting and eating dinner together, and she goes into the customs of the day of opening the door and pulling the chair out and those things, and how at first she thought she should be offended by them, and then she realized she was honest enough with herself to realize, this is nice, this feels nice. And I think the honesty about it, and also her appreciating those things, I think that probably also is comforting to the captain.
That's
I don't
interesting.
think he's ever really had a someone that he could do for, so she
Hmm.
allows him to do for her.
That's
What do you
so
think?
interesting. Yes, I never thought of that. That's so interesting. Like it was someone for him to take care of.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That scene that you mentioned, like I remember us working on it, and I thought we're gonna have to address this. Like the customs are so different, and and we have to address it. And I felt like it was such a throwaway little segment of her thoughts. But like the way it fits into the narrative, like that's really cool. I like
Cool.
that. Nice.
Well, this was fun.
Yeah, this was so
This-
fun. We hope everyone's enjoying the story so far and enjoying the characters and are anxious to find out what happens to them and yeah.
And if there's any requests or any what advice as we are going forward and reading, slower narration, faster narration,
Mm-hmm. And what would you
let
like to
us
see
know.
from the characters? What you're anticipating them doing and where do you think it's going and that kind of predictions would be kind of fun too. So yeah, just
Yeah.
any kind of comments, nice ones.
Really
Feel
nice
free.
ones.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
All right,
We'll have to
cool.
do this again
All
in
right.
another 7 or 8 chapters.
Awesome. All right. Love
All right.
you. Talk to you later.
Love
Talk to you
you.
soon. We talk like every day.
Of course.
All right.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.